morning. Welcome. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for coming on time. We have 3 days together. My name is Louren Newman. I'm the founder of the Global First Ladies Alliance.
Ladies and gentlemen, Her Excellency, First Lady Dr. 𝐒𝐢𝐞𝐫𝐚 𝐿𝐷𝐵𝐤, First Lady of the Republic of Sierra Leone, is currently participating in the Global First Ladies Academy. This event is happening
17 countries from all global regions. We don't have
live in New York, USA. The Ford Foundation.
From all global regions. Collectively, you represent hundreds of millions of people. Those are hundreds and millions of mothers and fathers and children and families. Mothers who can't access the care that they need and are at risk of dying during childbirth. Girls who can't go to school because they can't afford to buy sanitary products or are struggling with cultural norms related to early marriage. Men who are struggling to find work that is with gainful, sustainable employment so that they can support their families. Boys who are looking forward at the future of their countries and thinking about, boys and girls, of what they can achieve and accomplish. Many of your countries have a very significant, if not majority, of young people that will be setting the future, not only for your country, but for the world. And you all, many across the continent of Africa, First Ladies are often referred to as mothers of their countries, and I think of all of you that way. You have a platform and the capacity to have immense influence, especially among young people and women and families. First Ladies are often given the charge to oversee all of the social issues that a country faces. The social issues are the most complex. Political issues are fairly straightforward. I know it can be complicated, but it's a pretty linear track. Economic issues and development, also fairly clear. The social issues related to education, to access to health care, to economic empowerment at the very bottom level in a country, those are the most complex, the most challenging issues that a country is facing. And many of you are asked to take charge of that entire sector of health and education and development. It is the hardest job. And yet you are given that, most First Ladies are given that charge when they come into office. Many don't have a staff, a budget, and you certainly don't have formal authority to pass laws. So we started this initiative. My background is in public health, and I was working in the field with refugee and indigenous populations, and the need was endless. It was bottomless, and you all know this because you work with vulnerable populations in your country. I was a student working in the field, and I heard about a group of First Ladies, OFLAD, that was organizing to see how they could use their platforms to do more. And as I was there working with refugee and indigenous populations on the ground, imagining that there was a group of First Ladies or a group of women leaders who wanted to use their platforms for good, I just had this light bulb moment. I'd never interacted with First Ladies before. I hadn't thought about First Ladies per se. And I just thought, if we have women leaders interested in doing more for their countries, then let's create something that supports them. And so this program has been co-created with First Ladies. With all of you, we've worked with more than 70 First Ladies over the last 15 years. We started this initiative in 2009, and I just want to recognize my co-founders, Nicole Bresky, Gary Ryan. If you want to stand up and say hello. And the whole team at Columbia and GFLA, thank you all at Ford Foundation. But we found when we had our first summit in 2009, we had 13 First Ladies in 23 countries total represented. It was the first time anyone had brought First Ladies together and put them on stage. I know that you're all used to being asked to champion something or told what to do. You have potentially very specific expectations on what you should accomplish as First Lady. And what we did in the beginning was we put First Ladies on stage and listened to them. Who knows their country better than the First Lady? And we had partners that came and said, we want to get up and tell the First Ladies what they need to do, and we said, no. You're going to sit and listen. Because if you want to make impact in these countries, you need to speak to the mothers. And you all are the mothers of the mothers in your countries. And you are role models, and you are visible, and you have incredible influence. And so that was the first summit. And after the summit, we sat down with the First Ladies and asked them, what do you need? We had the former Chief of Staff to Laura Bush. Laura Bush was at our first event, and she was critical in forming this. We formed this together with all of the U.S. First Ladies except Trump. We sat down with the former Chief of Staff to Laura Bush and the former Chief of Staff to Hillary Clinton. And we had a conversation about the challenge of being a First Lady. You didn't plan to marry someone who decided to become president, per se, right? And then one day, you campaign, you get out there, you promote, you fight, you work, but you never know if you're going to win. Then you wake up one day, and you're First Lady. And many of your countries do not have infrastructure. And yet the entire country and world is looking at you and expecting you to stand up and help lead the country. And so this program was designed with all of you. So we have a curriculum, we call it the GFLA curriculum, but it really is yours. And we have learned over 15 years and working with 70 First Ladies, through working together with you, what it is that you need. Where are your challenges? Where are your questions? Where do you need more support? And that is the Global First Ladies Alliance exists to support First Ladies so that you can maximize your impact while in office. We've had a lot of pressure to choose an issue, choose maternal health, choose education, choose economic empowerment. And we do not do that because our priority is you and your priorities. And so whatever it is that you are choosing to work on, we are here to support you. We have partners from a number of organizations. I want to thank Ford Foundation, Columbia University, GE Healthcare Foundation, PepsiCo Foundation, Merck Foundation, Noya House, and then we also have someone coming from Rockefeller Foundation to present tomorrow. So we do our best to bring partners together with you so that you can also make real-time connections and find ways to follow up and potentially do more work with them in your country. And so this program, this next 3 days, what we want to do is have you connect with each other. We're going to present, this is very dense, and you'll see in my presentation that it is, it's actually designed almost like a manual or a handbook or a guide to take home, so it's dense. But I did it that way so that you can take this home and have a guide. We're still here for you after you leave, but we wanted to really put as much as we could in this so that it could be something that you take home. But it is dense. There's a lot to cover. And so what I want to just set the intention here with everyone, with all of you, to exchange, to ask questions. The most productive meetings that we've ever had are when First Ladies share with each other. What has worked for you? What have been your challenges? What is totally unexpected that you didn't think you'd have to deal with as a First Lady, and all of a sudden there you are. And so I want to just set the tone for this meeting, that it is a working meeting. It is a meeting where we want to hear from all of you. We want to hear what works, what doesn't. The challenges are just as important for us to hear, and the things that didn't work are just as important, sometimes even more, for us to hear than the things that go well. Because you've learned a lot through trying something and potentially it failed. So we're gonna start the morning with, I think we have an hour to begin the program. Today we will be going through the 10 steps that we have developed, which is the curriculum that we've developed with all of you for setting up and running an effective office. And so we'll start this morning, and then we'll have lunch. We'll have a presentation, lunch, and then we'll continue this afternoon. So we have 5 hours together to go through this. It's not enough time, but we know how valuable your time is, so we try to make it as efficient as possible. I do want to welcome Caroline to give a couple of housekeeping notes, just because everyone knows where the bathroom is and the breaks, and I almost forgot, but that's important.
Hi everyone, it's so wonderful to see you all here. We have been looking forward to this very moment for weeks now, and thank you, months, and thank you to all of you, to all of your teams for helping us with the preparations. It's been wonderful to collaborate with you all. In terms of housekeeping, I think some of the things are fairly self-explanatory. There are Wi-Fi information on all of the tables. I see a few of you have already been able to access our Wi-Fi. There are restrooms designated for the First Ladies out there, and then we have the restrooms for everyone else out here. There is breakfast that you can continue to enjoy out there as well, and lunch will be served for everyone at noon. Maybe a little later, but we're going to try to do our best. There will be photography and videos taken throughout the week, and so if you have any questions about that, you can always ask any of the GFLA or Columbia staff members any questions. And I believe that's it. Just a quick heads up that we will have a family photo today, so around 11:15 we will break for that, because we want to make sure that we capture that. Thank you.
Caroline is the one who needs this mic because she's so tall. You're too tall for this. Okay, great. So we're going to start this morning just running through a little bit of background. I already shared some, so I'll go through that pretty quickly. But again, we want to have it. We wanted you to have it for your reference. Maybe I'll stand out here. Is this on? Okay. Okay. So the mission of the Global First Ladies Alliance is to support First Ladies and First Partners individually and collectively in their efforts to advance positive change in their communities and around the world. So you can see that built into our mission, we are not setting an agenda for you. We are here to support you as you support your countries. This is something that we talk about a lot, and one of the reasons, again, that we started this initiative is that First Ladies have, and I don't want to say you have untapped potential because a lot of you are incredible leaders, but we see in the number of First Ladies around the world that there is huge potential, and without the support you need, you can't fulfill it, right? And so even if you are incredibly engaged and active, all of you could always use more support. So I shared before, we've worked with 70 First Ladies from around the world. This is an incomplete list, but here we are at Ford Foundation. This is one of our first meetings. We loved having Ford as a host. And we worked in our early years pretty closely with Laura Bush, Secretary Clinton, Michelle Obama, and Rosalind Carter. So our U.S. First Ladies have all been, and then Dr. Biden came last year. So they've all been involved in this process and shared some of what they've learned building and formalizing the office of the First Lady in the United States, which the U.S. is one of the first countries that formalizes this office. So we have great guidance from those offices. Shared already again a little bit. So we've been doing this for 15 years, working with First Ladies to set and implement priorities, establish partnerships, and develop strategies to create positive impact. Shared again that this has been developed together with you. So our programs are the Global First Ladies Academy. This is the second year. Last year was 4 days. We'll see how it goes with 3 days. We'll just, we'll use your feedback to see how this is best set up. The reason we're doing it in July, we have historically convened the First Ladies for 1 day or a half a day around UNGA because that's all we can, the UN General Assembly, that's all we can get, right? You know how busy UNGA is. And if something's happening, your husband has a speech, you can't, you're pulled in 100 different directions. So we're hosting this in July, in the summer. There's still, this week there's the NATO summit in DC, which is why Turkey and Ukraine can't be with us. I know they wanted to join us. And so there's never a time when there's nothing happening, but we are hosting this, we try to host this at a time where you all have time and space, and where you can come here just for this, so that you're not being pulled away. We also try to make your time productive and connect you with partners and other leaders. So I think I've already reviewed this, but the objectives of this academy are to enhance First Lady's role as a catalyst for positive change and social transformation, strengthen First Lady's leadership skills to build and support sustainable and impactful development, foster collaboration and increase coordination between First Ladies, and prepare First Ladies for future national, regional, and international leadership roles. You are leaders. You will not stop being leaders. Once you become First Lady, you're a leader for the rest of your life, even post-presidency or post-administration. And there's a lot you can do for the rest of your life. So we really, we work with former First Ladies, and we are, trying to help support that process, because you may have decades of leadership ahead of you even after you're in office. We did the academy last year. It's wonderful to have Dr. Biden with us. She sends her regards, by the way. She's busy with the NATO Summit as well. And at the end of this program, you will receive a certificate from Columbia University, the School of Public Health, and you'll be part of the Columbia family after this. We also have a fellowship program. One of the things we heard from First Ladies very loud and clear at the very beginning, and I have a feeling this will resonate, is a request to train their staff. That there was a need for, we can train you, but you're so busy, right? And there's a lot you can learn where you can share best practices. You can share best practices amongst each other. But your team is on the ground implementing. And so making sure that you and your team are speaking the same language and learning some of the same skill sets and following potentially the same general guide makes a huge difference. Because again, if we're supporting the people who support you, that's just another level of support. So we've trained, I think, 180 senior advisors by now. Nicole, there she's out there. Anyways, Nicole is the director of the fellowship, and she continues to keep it going and maintain a wonderful relationships with all of her teams. And then we have services to the First Lady's office, which is direct advising and supporting you in your individual program. It was included in your signing up for this year's academy, but we are requiring as much as we can. We know you're busy, but a meeting with you in October to check in, and then in February. So a 30-minute Zoom with each of you just to see how things are going, followed by a 1-hour meeting with your team. So that helps with, meetings, having these meetings and then going home. Oftentimes you're so busy when you get home that what you learn just sort of dissipates. And so we are here for you year-round. And it really makes a difference to be able to touch base in between, so that this isn't just a conference that you leave and learn a few things, but don't necessarily know how to get home. Every single country, obviously, is so different. So, First Ladies, I'm sure that you understand this. You're here because you're taking advantage of the opportunity that you have as First Lady. But what we always want to reinforce is that it's how much your time is actually limited. And sometimes that's a good thing when you only have 8 years, 10 years in office. It helps focus you. But you can also feel overwhelmed because you want to get as much done as you possibly can. You only have 10 years, you only have 6 years, 8 years. How are you going to get everything done? And so a lot of what we talk about in here is choosing your priorities and focusing and really understanding where you're going to. Because again, you're going to be a leader for the rest of your life. But your proving ground is your time as First Lady. That's when you demonstrate whether or not you can be effective and really move the needle on something in your country. And so we want you to make the most of your time in office because it is a precious time and a time that will set you up for the future. First Ladies and partners occupy a unique position in the pinnacle of society. their status and prestige, their role as private counsel to the president, prime minister, governor, or mayor, and their access to key policymakers and development partners to make them one of their country's most influential figures. The challenge for First Ladies, as I mentioned earlier, is that you don't have authority. So how do you lead without authority? That is at the core of what we're going to teach over the next 2 days. Unlike other elected leaders, First Ladies lead without authority and they cannot pass laws or allocate resources, do not have binding authority. Instead, First Ladies lead by drawing attention to pressing issues, motivating others to take action, and mobilizing stakeholders. And you all know how to do this because you run a family, right? So thinking about how you carry, and there's not really binding authority in family. It could be, but for the most part, you are nurturing and cultivating and cheerleading and moving your small organization at home forward. As First Lady, this is a Michelle Obama quote. As First Ladies, we are in a unique position to improve the lives of women and girls in our country. Together, I know we can overcome obstacles still before us and ensure our daughters and granddaughters and our sons and grandsons have the opportunity again, reflecting that mother role of the First Lady. So where does your influence come from? Your relationships with leaders, right? So you're in this position because of your relationship with the head of the state. Ministers and government officials, and some of you we have First Ladies who served in ministries and served in elected roles. So you may have established relationships, you may not. But ministries are responsible for implementing the national agenda of your country and the agenda that's set for your time in office. And so identifying the ministries that can be most helpful and supportive is key. And those relationships, we've seen tension actually between like the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Gender and the First Lady, because the First Lady is more visible and really take charge and lead on social issues. And so just being aware of the dynamics that you're involved in, and working as you can to build a good relationship there and show that you each have a role. And we'll talk about roles. These are obviously the largest government agencies, and so working with ministries is civil and business leaders. So First Ladies straddle public and private like no other national leader, right? So you have a relationship with the president or prime minister. You have links potentially to ministries. You may even have a formal ambassador type role for international organizations like UNICEF. And then you have the ability to reach out and engage with companies and nonprofits and multilateral organizations and individual philanthropists. There are limitations on what you can ask for, but you are able to also oversee the non-public partners across the country and world, and that's another big charge. There's a lot of potential there, and so being able to straddle those two, the public and private, gives you another unique area to have influence. So respect. So relationships with others. Then the next is respect. First Ladies generally, hopefully, are there to listen and understand and connect with the communities and connect with their population. So they listen to what people say, recognizes that she understands the country's challenges. Like I said before, who knows the challenges of your country better than all of you? You don't need outside organizations telling you what to do. You're seen as taking action to address pressing issues. So if you do develop a platform and engage, it's generally benevolent and focused on addressing social challenges. Public perception. So here again, it's critical that you're seen as not having favorites. So campaign periods can be very tense. There can be a lot of tension between groups in your country, but the minute you become First Lady, you are representing everyone. And you're going to have to, if you've had a really tense election process, you'll have to work harder to even that out once you've been elected, and to immediately welcome all and speak to and communicate and look to support everyone in your country. That is something that, you know, again, campaigns can be rough, but you can smooth that out quickly and pay close attention to not seeming like you are playing favorites. So again, fair, treating people equally. Inclusive, breaks down traditional boundaries. We have some wonderful examples from some of you and First Ladies that we've worked with over time that have been able to reach down to the local level and work with tribal leaders, religious leaders, artists, musicians, entrepreneurs, and bring those voices in to the national leadership level, and really listen and see what's happening on the ground. Why are we not making progress? So going out and engaging those who may have never been engaged before is a perfect opportunity for a First Lady to not only elevate your community, but to come up with good ideas. Because the best ideas come from the communities themselves. Being competent, getting things done, that's where we hope to come in and help you, making sure that you set an agenda and set of programs that is achievable. We have some First Ladies we've had, and First Ladies we've watched over the 15 years how you all have, and the role of First Lady has evolved remarkably. Most of you are, most First Ladies are professionals with a background, experience, education. That was not the case necessarily 15 years ago. And so you have the ability to take that, the background that you have, the expertise that you have, and bring it in to be effective in the office of First Lady. So First Ladies can't do it all. Here we go. You're going to hear me like a bit of a broken record. In order to be successful, First Ladies need structure and a platform designed to maximize impact. So we're going to go through this today. This is part of the curriculum. So defining your priorities. Most of you have already defined your priorities, but we can help you refine them if that's something that you need. Developing a strategy together with your team, building a team, establishing your team, and then implementing and monitoring and evaluating. One of the things that is very hard when you're working on social issues is to track progress, right? It's to show that there's actually been an impact. But if you can't track it, it didn't happen, right? I mean, your work needs to be documented, and there are many ways that you can do this. It doesn't have to be a randomized clinical control trial or something that's measured with refined. It doesn't have to be a quantitative measurement. It can be qualitative, but again, when you're thinking about demonstrating your impact, measuring and evaluating and reporting back is absolutely crucial. Okay, so here's our curriculum. These are the steps we're going to take you through. So once you enter office, if you don't already have a topic that you're passionate about, the first order of business is because you can do whatever you want, right? Presidents have to handle whatever comes across their desk. They don't get to pick and choose. First Ladies get to pick and choose, which is a really exciting opportunity, can also be overwhelming. Like I was saying before, we've had First Ladies formally in the early years that would have 10 priorities. And making without formal structure and ministries and authority, how are you going to make progress on 10 priorities? So really, but at this point, most of you have chosen a few. But when it comes to setting a vision, you want to make sure that it's something you get to choose something that resonates with you and also is a need in the country. So the internal analysis. Then you go out and you see, and we're going to have the Kenya team is going to present to all of the senior advisors later today on their work, doing a landscape analysis and an asset mapping. So who's out there already doing the work, and where can we, as the Office of the First Lady, fit in and specifically where's the need? We'll get into that a little bit more. So from there, you develop your vision. So here's you know what you care deeply about and the big vision you want to see in the world. And the next is how are you going to get there? Then defining your goals and strategies, defining the roles of the First Lady within each of those priorities. building a team, implementing and evaluating, resource mobilization, and we're going to spend more time on this. We didn't spend enough last year. So we'll do some more workshopping on bringing in resources, because many First Ladies' offices don't have a budget. Most don't. And so that's another thing that we hope to help and support, is watching or supporting and observing where your offices are not formalized. And is there a way that we can help you think through how to formalize this office so there's some stability? Implementing and evaluating, oh, I already said that, resource mobilization, communications. You're going to have, I think some of you have already heard from Dr. Shepherdson, but he's going to be here on Friday presenting on how to get your message out, because it's not as straightforward as we often think. Identifying what it is, and we have a communications expert here, Mrs. Vito, former journalist, right? And many of you can share what's working for all of you. But getting your message out that is a major part of your platform, and that's why so many First Ladies act as advocates and champions, because everyone comes to you and asks you to champion their cause because they know that you have that platform and that megaphone, but you want to use it very wisely. You don't want to waste those opportunities, and again, you want to refine your message and then repeat it, so that when somebody thinks about the First Lady of the Bahamas, they think she's the education leader already. And then legacy building and transition. So we've watched we've worked in Zambia with 4 First Ladies, in Kenya with 3. We have watched First Ladies enter and leave and build their legacy. So that's something that we're also very committed to. So does anyone here have a vision that's set and that you can share? A vision for your office, or a vision for your organization? Okay, I'm putting you on the spot. Okay.
For myself, it's thank you and congratulations. Summit. To answer your question, for myself, mental health has always been something that has had also because
Just for the transcripts. You can also take it out. Yeah.
Okay, once again, thank you. For myself, mental health is something that has always had my attention. Growing up and seeing it amongst your community, within your family, and especially women, the challenges they face. These issues, or what they were facing, wasn't something that was acceptable in the community to talk about. And we see, the stigmatization in certain cultures is also a challenge. So it had always had my attention, and I always thought about what would I do? How could I change it? And when I got the opportunity, a platform, I knew I was going to focus on this, and I took it. And I had maybe, the pandemic was something that made sure that we were faced with all our thoughts, because the time we spent home and disengaged or separated from our daily lives, that it just gave actually the attention and brought the attention to mental health. So since then, I've had the opportunity to work with organizations and who support my way, at least my strategy, how to reach the women, but especially the young ones. So I've had the opportunity to work with organizations and make, out of the box. As you said, we have the challenges. We don't have a budget, so there's never money. So you have to think about how to get the message across, and then it's the alliances, it's all the corporations and the partners, and the partnership has made a difference, I would say, for me. Thank you.
Anyone else?
For me, it's I have a big sister. For me, it has always been early marriage, that we needed to stop early marriage. It's one of our biggest pandemic in Africa today, especially sub-Saharan Africa. And being a victim of early marriage, so the last 6 years when I had the opportunity as a First Lady, that has been my focus. I started my campaign through the Hands of Our Girls, and today, through that, I have managed to have access to all traditional leaders in my country, all religious leaders in my country. The vision has been presented to them, I gave it to them and allowed them to own the vision. Some people begin to even implement, restricting early marriage and, of course, rape issues in my country. And I would say today, just last week, we were able to ban early marriage. It's been banned in my country. The president actually assented to that last Tuesday, and I had the opportunity to have some of my sisters, First Ladies, who traveled to Sierra Leone because they wanted to be part of that history making, because it was the first time a president was signing a law and then have other African First Ladies there as witness to that. So we've passed the law, now it's the implementation side. But I had to come because immediately when we did the program, myself and Monica, we had to flew back to the US for this program. When I go back now, that's where the hard work comes, because when I go back now, it's the advocacy, it's the sensitization, it's the reaching out, it's the method of making parents understand that we are not targeting them, but we're protecting their children. So even though I had the opportunity of both political parties in Parliament, when I took the bill to Parliament, I didn't go through government this time. I decided to go as a private member bill, which has never been happening in our country.
There's a good example of sharing best practice.
I went with a private member bill, and I asked a member of Parliament, a female member of Parliament, to be my voice. And she presented the bill, and I make sure I was in Parliament. I make sure I did all the pre-legislative meetings, consultation with all the members of Parliament, female caucus, the leadership of Parliament, our party and the opposition. So by the time we get to Parliament, everybody was in it. There was no fighting, no one was saying we don't have to. Instead, they were more focused on how to change the wording, not like we are not in favor. Everyone was in favor. We passed the bill, and then the president needed to sign before it becomes law. So he signed that last week, but I put a catch on it because the Hands of Our Girls was actually launched December 14, 2018. So the law, it is now law, but it becomes effective from December 14 this year. So that gives me another 6 months to be able to reach out to the whole country. So by the time we get to December 14, everyone is aware of this law and everyone knows now. If you do anything like this beyond December 14, you're the one breaking the law. So that's something that I've been doing, and I'm very happy. Thank you.
That's wonderful. So that is a perfect, I'll just let it that is a really wonderful example of Mrs. Bio just shared with all of you a method for moving an agenda forward and formalizing it. And is this on? It's falling down. Okay. Even though you are not in Parliament, you were able to engage parliamentarians and ministers and other leaders. And so that we would love. Where's your Sierra Leone. We would love to have, if you could share, maybe document and share that. We would love to be able to distribute it to the other First Ladies, because that's a phenomenal example. example. And we were just in Kenya a few months ago with Mrs. Ruto, and I believe that is ending child marriage is part of her priority. So there's an opportunity, right, to get to work with her potentially on that as well. So thank you for sharing. And mental health, we have seen at last year's closed roundtable, First Ladies Roundtable with Dr. Biden, we talked about mental health. I think if any of you remember it, it came up. It is pressing on, I think, all First Ladies in all communities' minds. And we did want to, this is a tangent a little bit, but we do want to have a module on online safety and harassment and exploitation. We may need to do something virtually. We weren't able to do it this time, but I think that's part of what feeds into it, right? So both examples from Suriname and Sierra Leone, you've set this. You understand that you reflected deeply on what matters to you. But that really is the process. So for reflecting deeply on personal beliefs and experiences that have shaped you to craft a vision that resonates with you, while also, this is key, while also addressing a need within your country. So using storytelling to articulate this vision to others, and we'll talk about this during the communication session, but one of the ways to show how much you care deeply and the authenticity behind you choosing a specific issue is telling your story and finding a way to craft your personal story to share and show that it's not just, you didn't just choose this because you thought it would be helpful for I mean, it should be helpful for the president, but that you're showing that you've chosen this because you understand it. And when it help people feel safe sharing their story with you. So when you share your story publicly, it enables and gives permission to other community members to share theirs and why they have the challenges. Backcasting is another technique. Again, you'll see here that I've set this up as a bit of a guide for you to take home too. Identifying a desired future state and moving backwards to understand the steps needed to achieve that future. And these aren't, I would recommend both. So you think deeply about where you have been impacted or what your passion is, and make sure it aligns with the agenda of the country and the needs, some of the highest needs. And then you think, and the vision is this, is the big vision, right? And so it may say, I know the mission from Mrs. Kenyatta was no woman, the former First Lady of Kenya, no woman should die giving life. That's basically ending like a world where there's no maternal mortality, right? So you have this very, very big vision, and that is your North Star. And so if you are backcasting from that, you're thinking, okay, no woman dies in childbirth. Now, how do we get there? Right? And I know you all know this, but it's a good refresher. Especially because that then feeds into your strategy, right? So understanding the desired state and then moving backwards from there can be very, very helpful. And then there's appreciative inquiry, and this is another method you can use just to go deeper, to either identify or go deeper into your vision and what matters most to you. Some common pitfalls when developing a vision: making the problem too complex or having too many problems. So that's where ending child marriage, improving mental health, very clear, right? You may want a future in which there are no child, marriages, or something, something that's that kind of big vision, or having a specific vision for where all young people in Suriname have access to health resources, right? So what is that end state? And keep it simple. So you don't want to try to solve too many problems, because then you'll feel overwhelmed immediately. Stating the problem as a solution. So this is something that can be common. The problem is we need more hospitals, right? That's not you want to figure out what the end state is first, and then figure out how to get there. Making the objective too big or not big enough. And I think we have examples of very big visions here, so we don't need to go into that too much. And making an objective that lacks widespread support. So you all have a sense. You have a sense of what your country needs, and then you'll also go through the process of assessing where the specific needs are, so that it's grounded in some evidence. Selecting appropriate problems is challenging because it requires balancing a First Lady's personal interests and expertise with larger country-level needs. Some issues are naturally better fits for First Ladies than others. Good matches include those problems that are large. Large and important at the country and national level, have high visibility and national support, such as the Sustainable Development Goals or one of the specific goals. Have no inherent or established leader, or have been generally overlooked. This is key. We should have called this out. You have the opportunity to lead in an area, and it allows you to be successful for so many reasons. But scanning the landscape and seeing which major problem does not have a clear leader. Are generally non-political and affect people across traditional boundaries. I don't think I've seen a First Lady choose a political issue. Issues can become political, like child marriage, or female genital mutilation, or FGM. You know, there are things that can be seen as political or contentious, but if there's a way to frame it, and I'm sure you'll work on that. There's a way to frame it so that it's not political. It's really for the wellness of your population over time. Are aligned and coordinated with your husband's agenda, and above all, the issues need to authentically represent the First Lady's own passions and background. So, and here's just a sort of visualization of how to set your vision and mission, the current state, the history, where we are, how we got here, and then the desired state, and thinking about not just the end goal, but the second and third order effects. What are the cascade effects if you were to reach your goal? And that helps you position and think about who you should bring on board. If it's a health issue, you may imagine that it's going to impact education or economic empowerment, and so thinking about how long-term some of the partners that you want to get on board, because they will be impacted over the long term. Any questions on that? Does that make sense? Who's keeping time for me? Because I got many hours of this. So we have 3 minutes? Okay. Okay. Well, it's okay. We have all day and 3 days. This is a good outline of the landscape analysis. And again, you'll have Jane and Vivian presenting to your senior advisors later today about some components, including the landscape analysis. So this is again back to where is there no visible leader. And you may not know that. You may know it inherently. You still want to find ways to get evidence and prove it. But the first thing you want to do is really look at where you're needed so that you can have the most impact. So questions to ask in this process, and you design your landscape analysis process through this. And even after you've set an agenda and you already know what you're planning to do or hope to do, you can still do this landscape analysis even if you already know what you want to do. So you can do it before to determine where you can fit in, or if you've already decided, you can still go through this process. And sometimes, depending on how long you're in office, you want to do this on a regular basis because new players pop up, new resources become available, but this is really your map. And it's very valuable. You do not want to skim on this process. You want to give it the time that it deserves. So the questions you'll ask: who is already engaged in the problem that you want to address? Who could be engaged but is currently not? I love this one because this allows you to get creative, right? So thinking about like musicians, artists, influencers, business leaders who have never thought about an issue, or they don't know how to get engaged. They may care. You may see they may post on Twitter about mental health, but you don't see them taking action on it specifically, right? So there are, politics and national, policy is very opaque for the average person. They don't know how to engage. They don't know where to engage. And so looking at who is out there who could actually really help you move forward, but they don't know how to do it. This is a great opportunity to be creative and to really reach down to the community level and find local leaders on one hand, and also international. Maybe there's a company that's operating in your country, and there are some negative impacts of their doing business there, right? Thinking about, asking them and engaging, would you like to give back? Would you like to invest at the same time in the social health and well-being of our country? What is your role in securing and enabling? What is needed to build the team and get others on board? And we can get into this. This is an art and science, learning how to basically convince or bring people on board on an issue that is very difficult to solve. So a really complex problem. What you want to do and what can be part of this process is identifying, before you meet with them, thinking about what role they can fill. So you don't go in with have a really general conversation. For example, if you're meeting with UNICEF, and we have some UNICEF with us tomorrow, I think. If you're going in to meet with UNICEF, you can go in just to learn about what they do. But the most effective meeting is to go in with and ask, right? What is UNICEF? You see what UNICEF is doing. Where could they do more? And so you're already ready to begin working with them. You're going in and thinking, going in with the mindset that UNICEF is going to work with me, and this is how. And we can get going right away if they, obviously it takes time, but you always want to go into meetings with an idea of what you want to get out of it. It just makes everything more efficient, effective, it's more satisfying. And then, so your role in securing and enabling partnerships. Now, this gets tricky, and we'll talk about how to secure resources and the limitations on them. You may just be opening the door and having a conversation. You are oftentimes not necessarily sealing the deal, as they say, because you are, some organizations, rightfully so, have very strict boundaries on working with the family member of an elected official. And we're very glad that exists. So you may just be showing them the way. This is an opportunity for you to do more in our country, or an opportunity to do more on this issue. And so you're just showing them what's possible, and then there's another player that comes in and says, okay, let's go, right? Maybe the ministry comes in after we've had the conversation, and because they have a formal, a partnership with UNICEF, for example. Does that make sense? And so once a partner, then I'll end this slide and we can. Once a partner has been identified, we must ask, what is the partner's interest and how does it complement the First Lady's mission? You should probably actually think about this before you meet with them. But you just want to confirm. What constraints, legal, financial capacity do they have? Also good to know. Some of the constraints going in, but you also want to ask those questions. Can you work with me? Or how can you work on this issue? What role can they play in contributing to the First Lady's vision? So your partners should all ladder up to your vision. And we can talk about what to do if somebody comes to you and they really want your help, but their issue is not your issue, right? You don't want to just turn them away. You can find a way to redirect them. But when it comes to establishing partners and mobilizing resources, spend your time on organizations and partners that are aligned with your vision. How can the First Lady's partners contribute to the First Lady's vision? How can you enable others to do the job? And so we'll get more into that in resource mobilization. But you are not a fundraiser. You are not a project manager. You are a facilitator and a patron. We'll talk about this. We'll get into it a little bit more. A door opener. You are facilitating change in your country. You do not have to. And that can be hard because you don't necessarily have enough people on your team. And so you're like, okay, I'll just do it, right? All of you are very competent, innovative, and I know you just jump in and get it done yourself if you need to, but we'll talk about how to avoid that pitfall of trying to do it yourself. So, do you want to share what's happening now? So we're going to take a break. We have 4 more hours together this afternoon and 3 days. So we'll just continue to move through this.
Okay, thank you, Cora. So we now invite the first take a family photo just outside the Mandela room. We have set it up. Senior advisors, just outside to the right. Senior advisors can stay seated or help yourself with some more refreshments. Press officers, you can join us outside for the family photo. And then we will reconvene in here for a final session before lunch. Thank you.
Jambo. Jambo. From how are you? I'm from I'm Vivian. Yes. How are you? Good. How is
I'm Vivian. Angela.
That was a fantastic. What? Yeah. I don't think that's why I said it. She has
Yes, and don't, you two don't be afraid to push your way through. Possible. What? I know, I've seen y'all. Y'all are, y'all mean business.
Lizzie and I go first. Yes. Get in there.
Sure.
There's no way they'll make it. So we'll do like 2 batches.
This is where the tag comes off. Sorry.
You can take it, guys. Okay, so we're going to just do 2 different rounds, so everybody will get a turn. Everybody's media gets a turn.
Would you mind stepping back just a little bit so we can all get a little bit further away? Would that be possible? Thank you.
Well, we're gonna just do this in state.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna, while I'm here, I'm gonna do this once. 1, 2, 3. And one more time. 1, 2, 3. Beautiful, thank you.
Okay, so then I knew more people and you need to come up this way, please. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And yeah, in a minute.
There you go.
Yeah. And one more.
I gotta get a picture of
Okay, and now, yeah.
right?
And then, does anybody else need to get a center shot? Yes?
Okay, y'all come in to this side, all over here. We're gonna get some more, over here. All right, Mavis, you're good? Okay, Mavis, you need to go, and then we're gonna sit in groups. Okay, you got one more? You've got Clay? All right. All right, 1, 2, 3, we're gonna move in the next group. All right, next group.
Got some good shots.
Okay, good shot.
Yeah, please, bro, please.
Okay.
Oh, yes, this is good.
Now good shot.
10% more smiles.
Give me your number.
Sure.
After, okay? You have live.
All right, now I think we're good. Do we?
Team 3 went to the You want that way. She has a call at 11:30, that's why she left. She went to the road. Yeah, she's with I don't know where she is. I don't know why God's name she was leaving.
Nardos. Get in.
Here she is.
Or wait, he's straight. Okay. Then one just with
Wait, everyone's positioned behind you can see a lot of us. Take a photo. Thank you. One more time. 1, 2, 3.
Lauren. Okay, then just, we're gonna do yeah, and then we'll do one just.
Yes.
Oh, do you want me in?
Yeah, or you in.
Or is that up?
Oh, you've done it. Yeah.
Okay, now we need the Columbia team.
Okay.
Most of them are not here,
Oh,
so
we can do one on
we were
Friday.
gonna do it on Friday at the circle.
All right, let's
And
just do
then
one.
one quick, Gary and Nicole.
And maybe I talk to some here.
All right, everyone, look this way. And one more, please.
One more for me. One more for me. Please. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Remember when I said if you
Thank you,
didn't,
everyone.
remember when I said if you don't document it, it didn't happen? Right. Okay, so now we'll go back in for a short presentation and then lunch. And if you need, bio break.
Actually, social media isn't allowed for this.
Okay, no problem.
So we have to. So no media for the presentation, so that's it. That's a talent. That's a talent.
And am I speaking to you?
No.